You guys don't have this.
Because we have a mobile notary on standby.
Everything you need to know about getting your license, where you can get fingerprinting done, where you can pay the fees, all that stuff. It's all in there for you. Yes, go ahead.
So, they give me my business card, but since I'm not like licensed,
They
it's
gave
okay
you-
for me to.
They gave you the temporary cards?
Yeah, I guess so. I'm supposed to go pick them up,
Yeah.
today, so.
Okay.
Can I still handle that all?
So, so here's what, you got two rules. You got the rules of the real estate division and the rules of the GOVAR, Greater Las Vegas Association of Realtors. You cannot call yourself a realtor until you've gone through orientation and ethics and taken a pledge. Even though most people who are licensed and going through the GOVAR class have their business cards that say realtor. In fact, it's an ongoing joke that now you can finally use those business cards that you weren't allowed to use. On our team, what we do is we order business cards, and if you're in the process of joining the GLVAR, we'll order them with realtor. If you are just licensed, we will order them that say real estate agent or real estate professional.
Okay, yeah, that's what it says. It says, real estate specialist.
Okay, yeah, that's not holding yourself out as a real estate agent. So you're okay with those.
Okay.
I would just wanna look at them, but yeah, even if you jump ship, when you jump ship, you're gonna get new cards anyways. And we give temporary cards, which are good to start. Okay, all right, so it's time, let's get going. We are gonna focus on the guide to buying your home. This is the home buying guide that when you meet with a buyer at the office, in a conference room, before you open up the MLS, you're gonna go through this. So there's a couple of things that you can add to this. You can add our escrows, buying in Las Vegas, the Las Vegas guide, which is gonna talk about amenities and the strip and who our utility companies are and schools and all that stuff. That would be in addition to this. You could add to that how escrows happen and what happens in an escrow. You could add your past closings and properties. You could add that to this, whatever you wanted. But this would just be the heavy lifting. So the first page, just like on the listing, the pre-listing package, it talks about it's all about you. You're about to embark on this exciting journey of finding your new home, whether it's your first home or your 10th home, a retirement home, or an investment property. I will work hard to make your home buying experience a positive one. What did we just tell them in that first paragraph? Whether it's your first home.
No matter your experience, we're here to help.
Yeah. And we're jogging the memory. We're saying, wait a minute, maybe it's not just about one home. Maybe you can buy 2 homes today. People come from California, that's what they're doing. They're selling their homes in California, they're coming and buying one to live in and one to rent out. Because we have an amazing rental market. Does anybody know what our average rental price is?
$1,400.
Okay, that would be the average rental cost. But do we know what our percentage is in the valley?
Oh. 45%?
So we're somewhere between 12 and 30% above the mortgage cost for the same home. So for those of you that rent right now, and you pay $1,500 a month, there's a really good chance that the mortgage on that property is somewhere between $9,000 and $1,200 a month.
Try 3,000.
Well, just for Nanda.
1,500 for her half.
I mean, that's important to know. Okay, and that's really good to tell your client. Why rent when you can buy? I mean, Connor, you're working with Shensia right now, and Shensia's like, I want to stay under 1,500. I'm like, bullshit.
Yeah.
You're not going to find anything for that.
It's actually where she wants to live.
And she can buy something for 1,500, rent out a portion of that for $400, $500, $600 a month, and then subsidize her mortgage. So it's really important to have that conversation. This document is designed to uncover those opportunities. So I can help you find the ideal home with the least amount of hassle and I'm devoted to using my expertise and the full resources of my brokerage and team to achieve those results. What did we just say there? Least amount of,
Hassle,
what does that mean?
less drama.
Is there drama in real estate?
There can be.
Yeah.
But we're gonna make sure you stay calm at all times. We'll help you stay calm and help you through the process.
Has anybody in this room ever done a real estate deal where there has not been drama?
No.
Yeah, does not exist. Although we can minimize
Right.
the drama. You know, there's a script out there that says we're gonna help you, sell your home for the most amount of money, and John's gonna say the rest of it.
The least amount of time with the least amount of obstacles.
Yeah. We're gonna help you buy a home for the least amount of money, with the least amount of obstacles, in the fastest amount of time. My real estate business has been built around one guiding principle. It's all about you. It is. It is all about, I mean, everybody in my team, we all get this. It's not about our commission. It's not about what we get out of it. It's about helping you, and by helping you, we will be paid handsomely for the work that we've done. But it's truly about helping the client. I will work with you to understand your unique lifestyle, needs, wishes, because buying a home is more than a certain number of bedrooms or a particular zip code. It's about your life, and that's important to me. So that, we just did so much heavy lifting by having them read that paragraph, those 3 paragraphs. We established, I'm in a relationship with you. I'm going to help you get to the next chapter of your life. And I also understand that buying and selling a home is not necessarily sexy, fun, or an awesome event. I understand that. This may be a tragic time for you. You might have to sell your home and buy something smaller against your will and your wishes. And that's okay.
For instance, me and Fernanda over the open house over the weekend, there was a couple that came in, and they were elderly. They lived in a 55+ community, and their daughter's husband just is terminally ill and is going to be dying soon from cancer. He's in a hospice, and their daughter and their 2 grandkids now will not have anywhere to live, so they have to sell their house in the 55+ because they can't bring their daughter and the 2
The
grandkids
kids
there.
can even go there.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Sad.
I thought as long as one
Wait,
person was 55.
That different communities have different rules.
Yeah,
This is in a 55+ manufactured home community
yeah.
where you own the manufactured home or trailer and there's a land lease. Different
You don't
rules.
own the land.
Yeah,
So
different
they
rules.
can move
Gotcha.
the house.
Now, like Sun City
Yeah.
has a rule that says one of the owners must be over 55.
Okay.
That's their rule. So yeah, it sucks. And we still have a duty to help them. We still have a duty to protect their best interest, guide them through this miserable process to the best of our ability, and ultimately help them sell the home, buy a home. It's not always, congratulations! That's a weird situation when it's not congratulatory. So keep that in mind. So moving on to the next page, number 4, the advantages of using a buyer's agent. Who wants to read the first paragraph as fast and as loud as they can?
Oh God, no volunteers. Okay, I'm just gonna read it.
Yes, go
First
ahead.
paragraph.
Yeah.
The first paragraph, your interests are professionally represented. Enlisting the services of a professional buyer's agent is similar to using an accountant to help you with your taxes, a doctor to help you with your health care, or a mechanic to help you with your car. If you had the time to devote to learning everything about accounting, medicine, and automotive mechanics, you could perform these services yourself. But who has the time? This is why you allow other professionals to help you with their specific areas of expertise.
So John, what does that mean?
Let us do the job for you, basically. It makes sense, you don't wanna have to go learn everything about your car just to get it fixed when you can have a mechanic do it.
It lets them understand we all have specialties. And you may think because you bought a home once, you may think because you were with your parents when they sold a home, you have a pretty good idea of what they did and what they didn't do. And you may even think that you can do this on your own. But what you don't realize is all of the things that you don't know. What happens if you do take the 5 lug nuts off? And you realize that one of the bolts came out with it? What happens if you take the lug nuts off and you realize that the brake pad just falls off into your hand? In real estate, our position is you don't know what you don't know until it's too late. So this paragraph was designed to say, hey, would you go and change the oil in your car?
No.
I wouldn't, sorry. I might know how to do it if I'm in the middle of nowhere and it's the last thing I can do,
2010 or.
I might. I will pay somebody all day long to change the oil. I don't even know what kind of oil my car has.
How many bottles you need?
Yeah. I could change a tire on the side of the road in an emergency. And I might do something wrong, and so I would hope that I could get to a gas station where they can check it. We have to relate to our buyer. We have to say, hey, listen, you may think you know what you're doing to buy a home, but you haven't got a clue. And I mean this with all sincerity. You don't understand title's job, the lender's job, the appraiser's job, the home inspector's job, the seller's job, the seller's agent's job, CFPB, RESPA violations, the brokerage's duty. We haven't even begun to discover the surface of what everybody else's job is, just so that you can buy a home. So don't think you're a mechanic when you know damn good well you're not. Okay? That's what that paragraph is designed to kind of put out there in front of them. Next paragraph.
I will take care of the hassles of everyday real estate transactions for you. I will
Stop.
let you, okay.
What's the anchoring word? We're letting them know what?
That it's hard.
This is going to be a bitch. It's going to get bad for you.
You sure you don't change your own
Prepare.
oil?
Huh?
You sure you don't change your own oil?
I don't.
Oh,
Yeah, right? Are you sure? I mean, this is going to get nasty for a while. And we're just letting you know that now. Go ahead.
I will let you concentrate on your full-time job while I do my job. I will guide you through the home buying process and exclusively represent your interests as I help you find a home, present your contract offer, negotiate, and close on your home.
Any questions on that? Next.
You get a personal specialist who knows your needs. Just as your accountant, doctor, and mechanic understand your specific needs, your buyer's agent gets to know your real estate needs and concerns. This type of relationship is built through open communication at all times. Your buyer's agents will save you a lot of time by providing you all the details about any home before you see it. In addition, your buyer's agent will listen to your feedback and concerns about each home.
So, what did they just do in that paragraph? We are now put on the same page as a who?
A professional, other professionals, like doctors, accountants,
Lawyers.
lawyers, everything.
Yeah, and if you haven't been in one of my classes, you haven't heard me talk, I often say your fiduciary duty is equal to and sometimes greater than a doctor and an attorney.
Yeah.
We have the same governing body, Nevada Business and Industry. We have a governing authority which keeps us in check. And we're held to a higher fiduciary duty than a doctor and an attorney.
Is it because you?
Because we're dealing with people's money.
Okay.
That's the whole reason.
A lot
It's
of
their
money.
money.
No, of course.
And yet it takes 90 hours to get into the business, and it takes a lifetime of constant education and training. And so the real estate division is getting much better, in Nevada at least, of getting people out of the business as fast as they're getting into the business. And I wouldn't be surprised in the next 3 to 5 years that the bar to get into the real estate business increases dramatically. Dramatically.
Why, bachelor's degree went dramatically?
I mean, we already see additional CE classes in a shorter amount of time. Now we have to do ethics every year, biannually, even though we have a 4-year license. They're starting to do things to make sure that we don't get complacent in our careers. But yeah, we are held to the same standards as your doctor and your attorney and your mechanic and your accountant. How come we don't act like it? So I don't want to get off on track, but I want you to think in the back of your head, what am I doing? What conversations am I having so that when I meet with these people for the very first time, they understand that I am a professional, I'm an expert at what I do, and I have a fiduciary obligation to you, therefore I deserve my commission. Because if we just get in the car and go show them a home, and they're like, hey, how are you? Nice to see you. So yeah, this is 1,500 square feet. The taxes are $890 a year, and a 2% commission. So anyways, yeah, there's like a lot of problems with this house, and so we should maybe go look at the one down the road. It happens, people, it happens. And what do they think of you? They think, oh, your job is only to open up the door. You have a little sheet that tells you everything that I want to know. And I don't think you're worth 3%, 6%, $500, $1,000, $15,000. Because that's what we portray. If you walk into the doctor's office and you come in and you sign in and he says, yeah, I'll be with you in just a second. And he comes up and he's like, hey, John? Yeah, hey, John. Great, come on back. Have a seat there. Yeah, what are you in here for today? Hey, by the way, while you tell me that, fill this paperwork out. Don't you get a different perception of your doctor? Is that what our doctors do? No. Our doctors don't check us in. Our doctors don't take our pulse and vitals. Our doctors don't say, well, what are you in here today for? We have people that do that. The doctor meets with the nurse outside of the room and says, what's the chart? What are they here for? What have they said? Did you do this? Did you not do that? Give me all the data. And they come in and they consult with you. They sit down and they will say the same thing over again. So what brings you in again today? And they're watching, they're listening, and they're looking to see if you're going to be squiggling in your chair, telling the truth. And then they prescribe the outcome. Think of yourself as a doctor. Do you make house calls? How many of you have ever had a doctor come to your house as a house call without meeting them somewhere else first? Okay? Okay? 2, how was the experience?
It was fine.
Did you ever use
I
the
was
doctor
when I was
again?
younger, and yeah, he was also a friend of the family.
Okay, so that doesn't count. I'm saying
But he
first
didn't-
consult, doctor comes to your house. You? Similar situation?
I was in a hotel in Amsterdam.
Okay,
Can't see.
okay. So the exception, not the rule. It doesn't happen. It doesn't mean that once you have a relationship, the family or you or whatever, they won't come to your home. They won't come to the site. Yeah, that's, customer service. That's a doctor understanding the value of his client. But most of them are not gonna just show up at your door.
Especially if he's.
How many of us have ever been in an auto accident?
Of course.
How many of us have ever had one of those attorneys show up at the scene of the crime or at the scene of the accident? There are attorneys that will go though, and that is their marketing. We call them ambulance chasers. But there are attorneys that will go. And they're usually a very low qualified attorney, and they're just going to try to get you a fast check. So why would you get in the car and go and drive and do all of your consultation and everything because you got a quick sign call? It doesn't mean you can't meet them. But is your intention to say, great, here's this home. Hey, by the way, have you looked at any others? Have you written any offers? Can we go over to Starbucks when we're done now? I want to show you some other homes that are like this. I've got my laptop. And then bring them into a buyer consultation. So what are you doing to become either the ambulance chaser or the doctor that says, no, you're going to come into my office, you're going to check in, my staff is going to take your vitals, and we're going to meet, and we're going to find out really what's wrong with you, and we're going to prescribe a treatment plan.
So that's more of an expectation thing,
It's all.
because people expect you to cater to them as real estate agents, because they don't hold you to that standard. So then you have to hold yourself to that standard and then hold them to the standard and expect them to
Most
come.
buyers don't know what to expect. Most don't. Because think about it. How many of you own your home? How many of you vividly remember your buyer experience? How many of you, this is your second, third, or fourth home? Okay. How many of you remember your first? Do you remember your first buyer experience?
Yeah.
Vividly?
Mm-hmm.
And did you judge the second buyer experience based on the first?
Yeah.
Okay. And did you know what to expect your first buyer experience?
No.
If they would've said, you gotta come to my office and we have to do all of this, you would've done it. Cause you're going to be, you're gonna be cautious and you're gonna analyze, well, why am I doing this? But you're still going to do it. And if it makes sense, you'll move forward. That's what most buyers will do. Most buyers have not, bought and sold 10, 15, 20, 30 homes. They don't remember all of the details. They just wanna know that they're taken care of. They wanna know that it makes sense. They wanna know that you're looking out for the best interest, you're honest and ethical. And now they also understand that it's gonna be a little weird for a while. And it's gonna get dramatic and it's gonna get emotional, and that's okay. So as we run through this, are you going to be the ambulance chaser, or are you going to be the professional doctor? And you have to make that decision. Because you can do either one in real estate. And that's why I'm not using a real estate agent as the example. Because you can be that agent that goes and just shows homes all day long. You can be the agent that phones in the listing appointment. Brandon's seller was telling him that, yeah, some guy's like, hey, we all do the same thing, so I'm just gonna call it in. The guy said, yeah, no, you're not. I'm not using you.
Instantly, ruled them out, he told me.
I'm sorry, I don't do anything that my competition does. And I'll prove to you why. Okay, so keep that in mind as you're working through the rest of this process here, because it's going to become more important. Okay, third paragraph. You will get a great home faster and with less effort. Read that, Josephine.
The advantage of signing a buyer's agency agreement is that you will have a professional agent working to find and secure the ideal home for you. It is much easier to find a home that meets your needs, negotiate a contract, and close the transaction with an experienced agent by your side. You won't need to spend endless evenings and weekends running around looking for homes or trying to search your computer networks for yourself. When you tour homes with your professional buyer's agents, you will already know that the homes meet your criteria and are within your price range.
It's like deja vu, right? So, in that paragraph, what is the negative past?
That you spent too many hours looking
Yeah.
for your home with no payoff.
Planning.
And what is the negative present?
You will continue to spend countless hours.
I feel like they can search more easily now with Zillow being a little bit more
They can.
accurate.
They can.
Like, so this one, I don't know.
Negotiate. Close the deal. Meet your needs. How many of us have worked with a buyer where the buyer has told us, I want a $350,000 house, I want it in Summerlin, I want it in a gated community, I want 4 bedrooms, 3 baths. And you're like, great, I'm gonna start searching. And all of a sudden they're like, I wanna look at this $420,000 house that only has 3 bedrooms and it's in Henderson.
Yes, oh my god.
And we go, and then they get mad at you because you didn't find that house. And like, wait a minute, you put handcuffs on me. You told me to search this only. So even though they can search, they don't have the parameters that they're giving us. And so our job just becomes more difficult to say, all right, I know that you can go on to Zillow and Trulia and Realtor.com and Redfin and all those public sites, and you can search until your heart's content. But are you gonna find the exact home that meets your best criteria for the price you want and the location that you want? So how much flexibility do I have in your search results? Can you give me a range? And then you say things like, 350, great, but what is the maximum you would pay for the perfect home? And you learn to have that conversation with them. And you let them know, hey, I'm gonna send you a lot of junk. And the only thing I want you to do right now is to delete the junk so I can get into your head. Because what you think is junk, 350 in Summerlin, they might go, oh my God, honey, it's right next to our kid's school, and you could drive 5 minutes, and we could fix it and make it our perfect home. And if you didn't have the right conversation with them, you would have deleted that home. And so there is no hard and fast rule, and I can't teach that. The only thing I can do is teach you to ask questions to seek to understand. Ask questions, sit back and listen. Because you will find that buyers are either gonna know exactly what they want, or they haven't got a frickin' clue. They watched HGTV and the property brothers said it has to be a gray house
Oh.
that's good for 2.75 kids. 2-story, and it has to have a mountain view.
And they can afford up to $1.5 million.
So I can't teach you that. I don't know. There's no script that's gonna help you through that. It's just really getting into their head, understanding at a high level, and then listening. Every time they say something, every time they show you something, every time you get a new, a new property and you can rate them and say, well, was that a 5? No, that was a 3. Well, what would make it a 5? You just gotta get into their head. And I haven't mastered it. And I'm pretty good at selling homes, and I still haven't mastered it. I mean, sometimes buyers they take me out in left field, and I'm like, where did that come from? So keep that in mind. So the last paragraph. You get all of this at no cost to you.
Entering into a buyer's agency relation has countless advantages. You are simply agreeing to hire a personal representative who, by law, must represent your best interest to the best of his or her ability. All of this personal service is available to you at absolutely no cost to you. The seller's broker is responsible for paying your buyer's agent fee. With me, you get a professional experienced agent devoted to protecting your needs and to helping you make one of the most important investment decisions of your life.
So now, how many of you out there are really, really good at getting buyer broker agreements? How many of you are like
Yeah,
50% good? How many of you have not been able to get one? How many of you have not been able to get less than 5? Or more than 5, I should say. Obviously, all of you who are new. And how many of you now think, with the information you have in the 3rd and 4th paragraph, 4th and 5th paragraph, having them read that, asking them if there's any questions regarding that, now feel confident that they can get a BVA signed? And what would be the challenges that you don't think for the rest of you?
Do you guys know what you would say when they say, hey, this has no cost to me, but you're making me pay $595 for this? What is
Yes.
that?
The transaction fee?
Do you guys know how to explain that?
Yes, you told us.
Okay.
No.
It comes up
It covers
every
for the
single
E&O,
time.
E&O insurance, the emission, the errors in emission insurance,
Yep.
your broker review, and storage for 5 years.
There you go. Sort of-
Absolutely, yeah. The law requires that my brokerage, not me, my brokerage reviews all documentation for accuracy, provides an errors and omissions insurance policy on the entire transaction in case anything was done unethical, wrong, maybe we missed something, to protect you. And we have to store the entire file for 5 years, so this just covers that cost. It's not part of my commission.
And
Next.
they never oppose it.
Oh, and by the way, it's part of your closing costs. So Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, when we talked about the 3% for closing costs, this would be part of that fee. It's not in addition to.
Yeah, but that comes up every single time I do one, so be comfortable saying that.
Next page. This is the same concept as the listing package. Here it's color coordinated, your photo goes here, talks about you. Not everybody is going to read things in a written paragraph form. They're not gonna understand it. So this is basically the same thing that we've covered in a graphical manner. If you mastered the first 3 pages and you had that memorized and you could paraphrase through that like a contract, excuse me, you could use the graph and walk them through it just using the graph. Okay, next page. Funding, qualifications, income, what it takes to get qualified, what a down payment is, the closing costs, the funding process. We don't need to go through this right now, but this would be important to go through. Are you a first-time buyer? Great, so let me explain to you the process. And then as you get more experience, you could say, you know what, we're gonna get you pre-approved, that's awesome, that's the easy part. You either get approved or you don't. If you don't get approved, we're gonna have a plan of what we can do to get you approved. But if you get approved, great, we're gonna go find a home, we're gonna go under contract. And then you're gonna go into underwriting. That's when somebody else who doesn't know you, that we think, works in a dark hole, underneath the building, and they feed them like through a metal door. Nobody ever sees the underwriter, they never hear about the underwriter, they don't know their names. we don't even know if an underwriter actually exists. They're going to pull your file apart, and they're gonna look for a reason not to loan money to you, because this is the risk part.
Right.
So, underwriter, not good people, okay? I don't even think they have families.
Oh my God.
But we want the underwriter to approve you. So when they do, we're gonna get back to a positive, but until the underwriter does, it's gonna get really scary for you. And they're gonna ask for all kinds of things. They're gonna ask about previous marriages. They're gonna ask about previous properties. They're gonna look into your credit cards. They're gonna get really invasive into your life. Be okay with that. Because once they approve you, you're good. They're the ones that are gonna loan you money. Their license hangs on the fact that you are a ready, willing, and able buyer. How many of us have had that kind of conversation with our buyer? Yeah, imagine if we had that conversation with our buyer, how easy it is when the underwriter says, well, I want to prove your employer, and I want your tax statements, and I want your credit card bills, and I want to know who your last wife was. Huh?
Just kidding.
Oh, okay.
They will get,
scared.
they will get very invasive. So if you have that conversation with your buyer, they already know about it. Hey, yeah, the underwriter, you know, they're not sure if they're gonna approve your loan. Remember when you met with me the very first time in my office and we talked about that underwriter that lives in a dark room somewhere below their office? Yeah. Remember, we talked about this? It's not that big of a deal. Most people go through this. It's going to be okay. And then we get back onto loan approval. The title company does their job. Sometimes they're a little messy too. And then your lender's gonna fund. Moving on. So in order to make it the highest opportunity for that nasty underwriter who lives in the hole to approve you, why don't we go ahead and send them everything in advance? So here's a checklist of things that I want you to leave today and start pulling from your computer or from your filing cabinet or call your ex-husband or whatever you need to do. Oh, and by the way, we have these 10 commandments. These are things that you shall not do while we're looking for a home. Can we look at them real quick? And then can you go ahead and say them to me? Because any one of these things will prevent you from buying a home. Thou shalt not change jobs, become self-employed, or quit. Thou shalt not buy a car, truck, or van, or you may be living in it. Thou shalt not use your credit cards excessively or let your accounts fall behind. And I'm going to tell you right now, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, you can't use your credit cards at all. And the only time you can use them is with approval from your lender. So if you need to do anything, if you pay bills on your credit cards, if you use them for anything, we need to let your lender know, and he or she needs to give you approval on that. Thou shalt not spend money you have set aside for closing. As funny as it sounds, it happens a lot. Thou shalt not omit debts or liabilities from your loan application. These are usually the things that the underwriter finds out about and then thinks that you're a liar and says, I don't want to fund your loan anyways. So let's just be honest. Thou shalt not buy furniture. You can look. You cannot get approval for credit. Look, don't write anything. Don't give your name to anybody. Salespeople bad right now. They're good. They will get your information. They will get you approved without you knowing it. So do not give your name, email address, or anything to anybody until the lender or myself approve that. Thou shalt not originate and inquire into any credit. Thou shalt not make any large deposits without first checking with your loan officer.
You can't make a deposit?
No, and the reason why is because deposits outside of norm have to be validated
3 months.
and they might have to be seasoned. Yep.
So it's like out of the normal for him to drop $5,000.
You got a side hustle going on, you go in and mow lawns, and Red Rock says, hey, I want you to mow my lawn and I'll pay you $500 today. You're like, shit, normally I get $50. And you go and do it, do not deposit that money anywhere.
Put it in your
Crazy.
mattress.
Well, as an agent, we would not tell you what to do, but we would say, can they hold on to the money until you close, or can you give the money to somebody else? But do not disclose that money to anybody.
Or get cash.
Yeah, because that will set things off. Thou shalt not change bank accounts. That happens a lot. People change bank accounts and stuff like they change their underwear, I swear to goodness. Oh, here, we'll give you $200 if you open up a bank account with me today. Oh, okay. Don't. Thou shalt not co-sign a loan for anyone else. Yeah.
Thou shalt not walk onto a new home site without me.
Not part of the loan, but yes, yes. Searching for homes. If you read the black line, what Brandon was just saying, the builder often requires that your agent accompany you on your first visit to a builder's sales office in order for you to, for your representative to participate in the process and be compensated.
You should probably put that in pink rather than black, so people see it.
Well, yeah, okay. Good point. So searching for homes, we're not gonna really go through it, but it is important for all of you to understand, this is your checklist. This is how you take them through the process, okay?
So I text one of my buyers, cause he's looking at new or newer resale homes.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, just so you know, don't go on to any new home sites, blah, 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 blah. And he responds back, LOL. I'm like, no, I'm serious. And I explained why, he's like, okay. But I was like, oh wow, this is not funny.
But, we weren't doing it before because we would always sell a lot more resale than new construction, but now inventory has changed, they have more inventory, they're giving some incentives, we have less resale inventory. That would be one of your first qualifying questions.
Do you want a new home?
If I find the right new construction home that fits your criteria, price, and location, would you be interested? And then I would go and find out all of the communities in their area, and I would go and register them. I would spend a morning, I would go and register, because they don't have to be with you to register them.
But you have to be with them.
But you have to be with them to register. So you can register in advance. And there are some new construction builders that will let you call it in. They will. They actually want to make sure that you are taken care of, provided that you're already bringing your buyer there.
Would they be more lenient now that there's more inventory too?
No.
No?
No, they're looking for ways to cut costs however they can. And so if you know that you've got a buyer between $350 and $450, and they want to stay up in the Northwest, it's what, 5 communities maybe? Maybe?
Just go to all of them.
So you just go to 5 communities and you sign them in. And you take a photocopy or sometimes they're digital, sometimes they'll give you a carbon copy. You just take those and you take photos and you send them to your buyer and say, let me know when you want to go see these. And if for some reason I can't go with you, at least you're registered. Okay? But have that conversation from the day that you meet them. Moving on. Making an offer, we're not going to go through it. We're going to talk about price. We're going to talk about move-in dates. We're going to talk about acceptance. If you have a property you got to sell, that's all part of the residential purchase agreement. And then details. What are we going to do behind the scenes? What are you going to do behind the scenes? Earnest money. They're going to check your taxes. Title search. They're going to do an examination of the legal owners and any debts that they might have. Document preparation, settlements, making sure that everything lines up, that you're paying the right amount of money, that the buyer and seller are each paying what they've said they're going to do, the different types of title insurance, making sure you have the right title insurance policy on the right type of property. It gets screwed up once in a while, guys, it does. Moving on. Home inspection, negotiation, repairs. And then ultimately closing. So when you can go through this with them, when you can send it to them ahead of time, they're going to get a really good idea that you're not just a normal agent, that they perceive as somebody who opens up doors. None of us in this room, you weren't licensed before? Yeah? No, okay. So, 12 years ago, roughly, there was a multiple listing service book. And at that time, up to it kind of went out about 12 years ago. There was a book. And that was all of the homes that were on the market. And they would come to you and say, well, I want to buy a home. And I want it to be in northern Las Vegas or Summerlin area near the 215 Beltway. And I want it to be 3 bedroom, 2 bath, and I want a nice little yard with grass. And you would sit down with them and you would flip through this book that got updated as new properties hit the market, but usually in about a week. They were updated weekly. And you would say, you like that one? You like that one? You like that one? Let's go look at them. And you would go to the broker and you would grab the keys for those homes. Or if they were a HUD home, you would wait until the one agent who had the one HUD home came back with the key and you would take that key. So you were put in a position of authority because you had the proverbial keys to the kingdom. They couldn't buy a home without you. And almost every home was in that book, or as the years went on a computer system. Well, now, fast forward to 4 years ago. Who disrupted our market? It wasn't even Zillow. Zillow
it
just,
was NAR.
yeah, Zillow, well, came on you. It wasn't Zillow, but Zillow perfected it. But it was basically kind of what you're saying. Some private equity firms came to us and said, we will pay you handsomely to give us a link to your system. And we're just gonna show some people over here how they can buy your home in your system. And National Association of Realtors said, okay. And,
I think they knew what they were doing, I think they just wanted to check.
oh, and by the way, who owned Realtor.com at the time?
I don't know.
National Association of Realtors. They sold it to Move.com.
They gave Zillow access to the MLS, so now Zillow can pull up that.
As well as other companies.
Yeah.
Yep. So what happened is we lost part of the responsibility and the image that we were the keepers of the gate.
We lost the monopoly.
Yeah.
Yeah, recently I had somebody, or I was helping somebody find out the value of their home, and then she looked it up on Zillow and sent me a screenshot.
Estimate.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, don't trust Zillow, you know.
I do
get back to
exactly
you.
this, not
So, I went on and I did comps, and it was off by like $300.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so yeah, Zillow was good.
Zillow's been more accurate.
Yeah, they have.
They are
A lot.
spending millions of dollars to correct that. And have any of you, if you own your own home, Zillow's reaching out to you saying, what do you think your home's worth? Please provide additional data based on your home. And they're pulling that data and they're correcting.
So are they pulling comps like a human would pull comps? Are they taking neighborhood searches or?
It's algorithms and it's based off of data.
Okay.
So public data, private data, owner input, and their recent solds, and they're constantly adjusting the Zestimate, as well as the other sites. So if you were to go to Realtor.com, who usually was a better estimate than Zillow, you'll still find that they're different. Trulia, Redfin, they're all different.
Yeah, and you'll find that like when you are listing with someone, they do kind of fact check with you. Like, well, Zillow's estimate said this.
Is that good or bad for you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller?
Yeah, so I know that's what the conversation I had to have is,
No.
that would be way over.
Most of the time, Zillow is still going to be low. However, I mean, they're playing a big game right now.
They are, I agree.
Then we get into some frequently asked questions. How does for sale by owners work? That's a little heavy listing for somebody who's maybe on the fence about listing the home themselves. Then we talk about Keller Williams, who we are, what we do. Then we're gonna flip the page, we're gonna talk about the team, who we are, what we do. And then we're gonna talk about our accolades. This is what other people say about us. And then we're gonna talk about, just who we are from a culture, the team, what we've done in a short amount of time, what we're doing. And then we get into a questionnaire. Why is this questionnaire important?
Yeah.
How many have gone to a doctor?
Yes,
How
we
many,
always fill
that's
out
the
form.
thing we hate the worst, but are we honest?
Yeah.
Are we honest?
Yeah.
Do we put that little mole that's on the side of our leg?
No.
That's scratching?
Well, I'm maybe not 100% honest. When I was 16 and going to the doctor, I wouldn't put out smoking or drinking. But
Wow, Connor.
Thanks for the
I have no
information.
respect for you.
Hi, you gotta love 'em.
I'm from a small small town, that's
But
all
what
we
does
can
this do? So let's say they fill it out at 80% accuracy.
They're about to freak out.
What does that give us?
80% accurate information.
Does it tell a story
Yeah, it
for
does.
us? Can we look at this and go, okay, I've got a pretty good idea of what they want and what they don't want, and I can have a pretty solid, real conversation with them in person. So would you have them fill this out after they met you and while they're sitting in the room with you?
Sure.
I would.
Take a glass of wine tonight, fill it out.
So I didn't meet you tomorrow. Hey, listen, I'm gonna send you a small little package that's gonna talk about the process, what we're gonna do for you, what we're gonna need you to do for us. And there's a little questionnaire at the end. It's really, really important so that I can help you find the most amount of home for the least amount of money with the least amount of hassles, that you fill that out completely. Bring it with you tomorrow. If you get it done tonight, go ahead and scan and email it back to me. That way I'm just more well prepared when you meet me.
Could we add this to our listing presentation as well?
Well, this would be the buyer side, but there is one for listings, yes. There is one for listings
It's
as
a
well.
separate
There's a-
document.
Yeah, it's a separate
Oh,
document.
Okay,
Okay? So my goal would be that you send this ahead of time. This is your pre-buyer package. And how many of you think that they're actually gonna fill it out?
Probably not, because they're not gonna print it.
10%.
Yeah.
We'll put on documents or something.
Yeah. So, hey, great, I'm gonna be back in a couple of minutes. Hey, by the way, did you bring that questionnaire filled out? No? Okay, well, I brought another package for you. Can you just fill that out real quick? Can I get you some coffee or some water? I'm gonna be back in just a few minutes. And then you let them fill it out again. Because the chances are, unless they're a high S, they will not be bringing it in to you. So is there any questions on that? So how many in this room, licensed or unlicensed, have some level of confidence that if somebody walked in the front door now and said, I need to meet with an agent, I wanna buy a home, they can at least say, oh, I have a package, I'm gonna give it to them, say, great, I'm excited to meet you, take a couple minutes and read the package and fill out the buyer questionnaire, and I'm gonna be back in a few minutes. Can I get you something to drink?
Oh, easy, we offer more than a package. Come on,
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. Cause we overcomplicate the process. We wanna jog their memory, we wanna get them thinking, and then we wanna let them know that we're here to help you, and it's going to get messy. And we're gonna see this through to the end. By the way, here, in addition to this, here's a duties owed and a buyer broker agreement that we need to now fill out and sign.
Josephine's pretty good at the BBAs.
Yeah. BBA queen, I just need to find houses. It needs the green.
I agree.
Josephine needs to
How many
teach a
DBAs did we have in our
class.
system in the last 3 months?
You say it's like 40?
And
39, I think, wasn't it?
35 of them were Josephine's.
Yeah, right. And the rest were yours. Yeah,
I
we
got
have-
one. I have one.
Yeah, we're really good at collecting DBAs. What are we doing to get them under contract? Yeah, all right, so that's the end of this. Take it with you, memorize it. Jody will send it to you in an editable form where you can add your photo and your name. You can add if you have the client's information, you can put their information on there. We also have digitally buying in Las Vegas from the escrow company, some stuff from our lenders. I would create a digital buyer package that you can, at a click of a button, put in their name, put in the date, send it to them with a nice little email that says, looking forward to meeting you on blank day at blank time at my office. In the meantime, please do X, Y, and Z. Okay? Because all they want to do is get on the local listing service and shop for homes. That's really all they want to do. So we're going to dangle that carrot in front of them to get them to do what we want them to do so that they realize that this is a fiduciary duty. Okay? Any questions on that? All right, let's roll into the sales meeting. Does everybody have the agenda?
5-minute intermission.
Yeah, let's take 5 minutes.
Craig.
Yes.
This Kristen is so in this office.